At the end of 2020, to be perfectly honest, I didn't have much energy. I knew that most of December was going to be a write-off because I would just need this to recharge. To make it worse, the weather wasn't particularly great. I mean, fine, we got snow on one day and then it melted about 24 hours later. So it wasn't even like the weather was going to help me get myself out of the slump. So I did what I normally do, which is I pick a few small projects and use those to just kickstart my enthusiasm for everything. I had this dress that I found in a sale, and while I didn't like the dress at all, I did like the fabric because it was very flowy, very comfortable. So I thought, okay, let's just turn this dress into a skirt that I like. So I cut it down and then made it to knee height. I've got a bit of a rule when it comes to skirts. I don't like skirts which cut off the middle of my legs. I think it looks awful on me. It either has to be at the knee or at the ankle, none of this in between stuff. So I cut it down, gave it a hem, added 2 dots on the front, and then just had to do this slowly over the course of a few evenings just because my little toddler is a bit of a demanding little angel, shall we say, and the second one needs a lot of hugs. But I eventually got it done and I was very, very happy with it. And while it probably isn't going to last very long because I do silly things like attempt to take down a whole wall, I'm still very happy just because it's so comfortable and I learned so much from doing this. This was only the 3rd sewing project I've done so far, and I'm just getting more and more confident in my sewing, and while it would probably make my seamstress sister scream when she looks at the hem, I'm still very happy with it, and it's a nice addition to my capsule wardrobe, so I'm happy with it. And if you're wondering why I'm taking this wall down, that's so I can finally have studio space, but I'll show you more about that at the end of the video. The next project I wanted to do was make some boot trees. I do want to make something which is maybe a little bit nicer. I've got a whole load of jumpers and t-shirts that have slowly gotten trashed over the years, which while they're no good for wearing, they're perfectly fine as stuffing material. So I do want to shred those up and make some proper boot trees at some point which have a fabric inside and are a bit lighter. But for the moment I just wanted something to support the boots, and like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, this was just to give me an enthusiasm boost. It always helps when I'm just completely done, no energy, no drive, just having small projects which might be temporary and just finish them and make a little something around the house or my wardrobe or something just a little bit better and improved gives me that kick that I need. So I used some old cardboard, some bandages that I had left over from a mummy makeup tutorial that I did years ago, used that just to soften that bit in between the cardboard, and then used some leggings which got damaged because we have a wood burner which heats our entire house. That is our heating, and at one point I was putting some wood in there, a spark came out and landed on my leggings and completely destroyed them. But they're good leggings. They're one of those really nice merino wool ones, so I didn't want to chuck them out. So I thought I can use this as a really nice boot tree. So that's what I did. I used some elastic bands on the end, then I cut the other side off a little bit further down just because there was too much fabric. Then with some black thread I sewed that over so it was all curled in on itself, and then once that was all sewed on, and that did take a while because I was getting a little helper, which as much as this looks very cute afterwards, at the time it's very hard to be patient because you just think, oh, I would be so much faster if I didn't have a toddler sat on my lap. But I still managed to get it done. It took 4 times longer, but it did get done in the end. And then what I did is I took some buttons from a leftover project because I've been taking one of my coats that I really like, but the buttons are awful. They're those awful plasticky looking things. And I thought that these metal ones that I found on eBay were so much prettier. I had done this with the buttons on one boot tree and I didn't like it, so in the end I took it back to 1 button, but I changed all the buttons on my coat. I had tons of leftover and I thought these would be perfect as a little handle for the boot tree because they just look nice, they feel nice, and it makes it easier to put them in and out of the boots because you've got something to hold on to really nicely. And like I mentioned, I took these off. It was a nice idea in theory, but sometimes ideas don't work, so I took them all off and just put 1 button back, and that worked perfectly for what I needed. So it took a bit longer because it had to be changed, but that's fine by me, provided I learn a little something and get a nicer looking project out of the end of it. Now that the boot trees were made, I had a few other minor projects that I wanted to do. While this is a temporary solution, I just wanted somewhere for my sunglasses. I'm allowed to have 4 pairs of sunglasses in my capsule wardrobe. They can be 2 kind of goldeny, warm coloured metal black sunglasses and one which are silvery, so with a silver frame or maybe a silver stud on the side, but no more than 4, because more than that I just don't wear them as it is. 4 is probably pushing it, but I do like all 4 of these sunglasses, and it's one of the rare times where I regularly wear something a lot, and that's never happened before. I used to have probably about 12 sunglasses, and I had 3 that I loved, but now I have 4 and I really like them, so I wanted them up and away on the side of the drawer, so I just used those little clips on the side. And then another thing I wanted to fix up was my hat. So I had these, I don't know why my accent came in. I had these tags that normally stick on the side of a skirt that were coming loose. So I used those and made some little fabric hooks. So I folded them over, sewed up the edges so that it's kind of a hoop, and then sewed that onto the side of my hat, so that way whenever it's windy and I'm wearing it, I can put some hairpins and pin it down to my hair. And this is something I used to do years ago to my hats, because I liked to wear hats and I didn't particularly like having to chase the hat down the street. So it was just a quick little project that I've been meaning to do since the beginning of 2020. I just never got round to it. Finally did it, and this is the project that for me finally just got everything rolling. The other ones were nice, but I didn't have my zhuzh back. So once I'd finished this project, that's when I felt like I was ready to tackle the studio and make my battle plan for 2021, because I have a lot of plans. I probably have too many plans as usual, but I just needed that drive back, which after this project finally came back. So the hat was all done, it was ready and up on the wardrobe, and now it was time to do the studio, which I was very, very excited about at this point. I painted a new backdrop, as some of you know from watching Claire de Lys art, which has now been renamed to Claire de Lys Makeup. I had a black background for years. I do not do white backgrounds. I end up just blending into it, and all you can see are 2 dark little eyes looking back at you. It doesn't work. So I thought it needed a change. I still like a dark background, but I wanted a green one instead. Gave me that dark contrast I wanted, and also a little bit of a change. I'm using my husband's old desk, so I've got that DIY corner. This is my filming area, and then you can see this little beam on the wall, which was incredibly easy to do, and I've been wanting to do this for years. You just drill a hole onto a little piece of wood, screw it into the wall, and then that way you can clip things like a camera mount, and then you don't have a tripod up on the desk. And while I would eventually like this kind of a setup for my makeup filming, this isn't a permanent studio, this is a temporary solution, so I'm not going to be putting anything which is going to involve buying too much equipment or setting up anything particularly fancy, just because it could change again in 6 months, 9 months, a year. This is not the permanent solution. Half of it is the nursery, but it is such an improvement compared to what I had before, which was just the kitchen table, which means you're limited to when the little ones are having a nap, or in the evening when you're incredibly tired and you just don't have anything left to give. And then there's always people coming through and getting in your space, and just this is such an improvement. I've got now a little art area, which, while I still need to put things up like the shelf and maybe organise a few of the desks and things like that, I have space, I have zones, and for me I found that I'm a lot more efficient when I work if I have zones. So an art zone, a DIY zone, a makeup zone. Otherwise you constantly have to move things and clear an area, and when time is already quite limited, it makes a huge difference just to have everything ready and set up. And then the last thing I want to do is a big set of words. Actually, you know what, I'm going to do this now. I just wanted a big set of words up on the wall with a permanent marker saying I will, so that on days where I feel like I can't, it's like no, you can and you are going to. And just something that was a little bit kind of words of affirmation, but a doing word. I don't like words like I wish, because it's so passive. So I wanted this up on the wall to remind me that, yep, last year sucked, but this year's going to be better.